The Indian Administrative Service (IAST), Bharatiya Prasasanika Seva, often abbreviated to IAS, or simply IAS, is the administrative arm of the All India Services. Considered the premier civil service of India, the IAS is one of the three arms of the All India Services along with the Indian Police Service (IPS) and the Indian Forest Service (IFS). Members of these three services serve the Government of India as well as the individual states. IAS officers may also be deployed to various public sector undertakings. As with other countries following the Westminster parliamentary system of government, the IAS is a part of the permanent bureaucracy of the nation, and is an inseparable part of the executive of the Government of India. As such, the bureaucracy remains politically neutral and guarantees administrative continuity to the ruling party or coalition. Upon confirmation of service, an IAS officer serves a probationary period as a sub-divisional magistrate. Completion of this probation is followed by an executive administrative role in a district as a district magistrate and collector, which lasts several years, as long as 16 years in some states. After this tenure, an officer may be promoted to head a whole state division, as a divisional commissioner. On attaining the higher scales of the pay matrix, IAS officers may lead government departments or ministries. In these roles, IAS officers represent the country at the international level in bilateral and multilateral negotiations. If serving on a deputation, they may be employed in intergovernmental organizations such as the World Bank, the International Monetary Fund, the Asian Development Bank, the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, or the United Nations, or its agencies. IAS officers are also involved in the conduct of elections in India as mandated by the Election Commission of India. History. During the occupation of India by the East India Company, the civil service was divided into three: covenanted, uncovenanted and special civil services. The covenanted civil service, or the Honourable East India Company's Civil Service (HEICCS), as it was called, largely comprised British civil servants occupying the senior posts in the government. The uncovenanted civil service was introduced solely to facilitate the entry of Indians onto the lower rung of the administration. The special service comprised specialised departments, such as the Indian Forest Service, the Indian Police and the Indian Political Service, whose ranks were drawn from either the covenanted civil services or the British Indian Army. The Indian Police included many British Indian Army officers among its members, although after 1893 an annual exam was used to select its officers. In 1858 the HEICCS was replaced by the Indian Civil Service (ICS), which became the highest civil service in British-ruled India between 1858 and 1947. The last British appointments to the ICS were made in 1942, with the passing of the Government of India Act 1919. The Imperial Services—under the oversight of the Secretary of State for India—were split into two arms, the All India Services and the Central Services. The Imperial Civil Service was one of the 10 All India Services. In 1946 at the Premiers' Conference, the then Central Cabinet decided to form the Indian Administrative Service (IAS), based on the Imperial Civil Service (ICS), and the Indian Police Service (IPS), based on the Imperial Police (IP). There is no alternative to this administrative system. The Union will go, you will not have a united India if you do not have good All India Service which has the independence to speak out its mind, which has sense of security that you will stand by your work. If you do not adopt this course, then do not follow the present constitution. Substitute something else. These people are the instrument. Remove them and I see nothing but a picture of chaos all over the country. When India was partitioned following the departure of the British in 1947, the Imperial Civil Service was divided between the new dominions of India and Pakistan. The Indian remnant of the ICS was named the Indian Administrative Service, while the Pakistan remnant was named the Pakistan Administrative Service (PA). The modern Indian Administrative Service was created under Article 312 in Part 14 of the Constitution of India, and the All India Services Act, 1951. Recruitment. There are three modes of recruitment into the Indian Administrative Service. IAS officers may enter the IAS by passing the Civil Services Examination, which is conducted by the Union Public Service Commission (UPSC). Officers recruited this way are called direct recruits. Some IAS officers are also recruited from the state civil services, and, in rare cases, selected from non-state civil service. The ratio between direct recruits and promotes is fixed at 2:1. All IAS officers, regardless of the mode of entry, are appointed by the President of India. Only about 180 candidates out of over 1 million applicants, who apply through the Civil Services Examination (CSE), are successful, a success rate of less than 0.01%. As a result, the members of the service are often referred to as heaven-born. Unlike candidates appointed to other civil services, a successful IAS candidate is rendered ineligible to re-enter the Civil Services Examination. From 1951 to 1979, an IAS candidate was required to submit 2 additional papers, as well as 3 optional papers instead of 2 as with other civil services to be eligible for the Indian Administrative Service or the Indian Foreign Service. The 2 additional papers were postgraduate level submissions, compared to the graduate level of the optional papers, and it was this distinction that resulted in a higher status for the IAS and IFS. The 2 postgraduate level submissions were later removed, but this has not changed the perceived higher status of the IAS and IFS. After the selection process, the successful candidates undergo training at Lal Bahadur Shastri National Academy of Administration in Mussoorie, Uttarakhand. State cadres. Cadre allocation policy. The central government announced a new cadre allocation policy for the All India services in August 2017, touting it as a policy to ensure national integration of the bureaucracy and to ensure an All India character of the services. The existing 26 cadres were to be divided into 5 zones by the Department of Personnel and Training. Under the new policy, a candidate first selects their zones of preference, in descending order, then indicates a cadre preference from each preferred zone. The candidate indicates his second cadre preference for every preferred zone subsequently. The process continues until a preference for all the cadres is indicated by the candidate. The preference for the zones and cadres remains in the same order and no change is permitted. Officers remain in their allocated cadre or are deputed to the Government of India. Topic: Previous cadre allocation policies. Topic: Until 2008, there was no formal system that permitted the selection of a state cadre preferred by the candidate. If the candidate was not placed in a vacancy in their home state, they would be allocated to other states, which were selected from a roster in alphabetic order, starting from A, H, M or T, depending on the year. For example, if in a particular year the roster begins from A, then the first candidate on the roster will go to the Andhra Pradesh state cadre, the next one to Bihar, and then to Chhattisgarh, Gujarat and so on in alphabetical order. The next year the roster starts from H for either Haryana or Himachal Pradesh. The 2 states alternate roster years. This system, practiced since the mid-1980s, ensured that officers from different states were placed all over India. The system of permanent state cadres resulted in wide disparities of professional exposure for officers when comparing those from developed versus less developed states. Changes in state cadres were only permitted on grounds of marriage to an All India Services officer of another state cadre or under other exceptional circumstances. The officers were allowed to go to their home state cadre on deputation for a limited period, after which they would be required to return to their allocated cadre. Since 2008, IAS officers were assigned to state cadres at the beginning of their service. There was 1 cadre for each Indian state, except for 2 joint cadres, Assam Meghalaya and Arunachal Pradesh Goa Mizoram Union Territories (AGMUT). The insider-outsider ratio of officers who were posted to their home states to those from other states was maintained at 1:2, with 1/3 of the direct recruits being insiders from the same state. The rest were posted as outsiders according to the state allocation roster in states other than their home states, as indicated by their preference. Responsibilities of an IAS officer. The typical functions performed by an IAS officer are to collect revenue and function as court officials in matters of revenue and crime for the revenue courts and criminal courts of executive magistrates, to maintain law and order, to implement union and state government policies at the grassroots level when posted to field positions, i.e. as sub-divisional magistrates, additional district magistrates and divisional commissioners, and to act as an agent of the government in the field, i.e. to act as an intermediary between the public and the government. To handle the administration and daily proceedings of the government, including the formulation and implementation of policy in consultation with the minister in charge of a specific ministry or department. To contribute to policy formulation, and to make a final decision in certain matters, with the agreement of the minister concerned or the Council of Ministers depending upon the weight of the matter, when posted at the higher level in the Government of India as a Joint Secretary, Additional Secretary, Special Secretary or Secretary Equivalent, Secretary and Cabinet Secretary, and in state governments as Principal Secretary, Additional Chief Secretary or Special Chief Secretary and Chief Secretary. Career progression. At the beginning of their career, IAS officers receive district training with their home cadres followed by their first posting. Their initial role is as a sub-divisional magistrate (SDM), and they are placed in charge of a district subdivision. As SDMs, they are entrusted with maintaining law and order, as well as general administration and development work, of the subdivision. With the completion of their training, IAS officers are assigned to various posts in the state and union governments, and in local self-governments, municipal corporations, Zilla Parishads, and public sector undertakings. In 2015 it was announced that a new designation of Assistant Secretary at the Central Secretariat had been created to enable new IAS officers to be posted to Delhi for a 3-month assignment as part of their training regime. IAS officers were previously only permitted to go on a deputation once assigned to the Central Secretariat after 9 years of service in their home cadre. It was observed that the experience of central functions was severely lacking among these deputations, resulting in this change in their training. Completion of this probation is followed by an executive role in a district as a district magistrate and collector, which lasts several years, as long as 16 years in some states. After this tenure as a district magistrate, the officer may be promoted to head a whole state division, as a divisional commissioner. On attaining the apex scale, IAS officers may lead government departments or ministries. In these roles, IAS officers represent the country at the international level in bilateral and multilateral negotiations. If serving on a deputation, they may be employed in intergovernmental organizations such as the World Bank, the International Monetary Fund, the Asian Development Bank, the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, and the United Nations or its agencies. IAS officers are also involved in the conduct of elections in India as mandated by the Election Commission of India. Upon retirement, high-ranking IAS officers have occupied constitutional posts such as the Chief Election Commissioner of India, the Controller and Auditor General of India, and the Chairperson of the Union Public Service Commission (UPSC). They have also become members of administrative tribunals, such as the National Green Tribunal and the Central Administrative Tribunal, as well as chiefs of regulators including the Telecom Regulatory Authority of India, the Securities and Exchange Board of India, and the Reserve Bank of India. If a serving IAS officer is appointed to a constitutional post such as Controller and Auditor General of India, Chief Election Commissioner of India or Chairperson of UPSC, or as head of a statutory authority, such as the National Human Rights Commission, the National Commission for Women or the Central Information Commission, he or she is deemed to have retired from service. IAS officers can also be deputed to private organizations for a fixed tenure under Rule 6(2)(e) of the Indian Administrative Service Cadre Rules, 1954. Assessment of suitability for promotion and posting. The performance of IAS officers is assessed through a performance appraisal report. The reports are reviewed to judge the suitability of an officer before a promotion or a posting in the union or state governments. The report is compiled annually and is initiated by the officers themselves, designated as the reporting officer, who list their achievements, completion of assigned activities and targets for the year. The report is then modified and commented on by the reviewing officer, usually the superior of the reporting officer. Reports are forwarded by the reviewing officer to the accepting authority, who conducts a final review of the report. Major concerns and reforms. Shortage of officers. It was reported in 2017 that there is a shortage of about 1,500 IAS officers in the country. Despite this, the government has stated that annual recruitment of IAS officers will not increase, to avoid impacting the career progression of existing officers and the overall structure of the service. Lateral entry. Media personalities, some retired IAS officers and a few academics have argued in favor of lateral entry into the IAS to inject fresh blood into the service. They argue that it would help refresh the bureaucracy, offer competitiveness and bring in alternate perspectives. A counter-argument has been put forward that a lateral entry process could be manipulated due to corruption and cronyism. It is further argued that lateral entry would not lead to improvements in managerial performance or accountability, and while it may create synergy between the government and big businesses, it could also compromise the integrity of government. It has also been argued that it could weaken the bureaucracy instead. The Union government has frequently ruled out lateral entry into the IAS. Political influence. The IAS is hamstrung by political interference, outdated personnel procedures, and a mixed record on policy implementation, and it is in need of urgent reform. The Indian government should reshape recruitment and promotion processes, improve performance-based assessment of individual officers, and adopt safeguards that promote accountability while protecting bureaucrats from political meddling. Several think tanks and media outlets have argued that the IAS is hamstrung by political influence within the service. It has been reported that many local political leaders have been seen to have interfered with IAS officers. Politicians have also exerted pressure on IAS officers by repeatedly transferring them, suspending them, beating them, and, in some extreme cases, killing them. While hearing TSR Subramanian v. Union of India, the Supreme Court of India ruled that IAS officers, and other civil servants, were not required to act on oral instructions given by politicians as they undermined credibility. Corruption. In 2015 it was reported by the Government of India that 100 IAS officers had come under scrutiny by the Central Bureau of Investigation for alleged corruption. In 2017 government records showed that 379 IAS officers had deliberately failed to submit details of their immovable assets (IPR). Since 2007, a number of chief secretaries and a principal secretary have been arrested in cases of graft or money laundering. IAS officers have been found amassing disproportionate assets and wealth varying from 200 crore rupees equivalent to 242 crore rupees or $34 million in 2017, to 350 crore rupees equivalent to 559 crore rupees or $78 million in 2017. In 2016 it was reported that the government would provide the means to prosecute corrupt IAS officers, with the Ministry of Personnel, Public Grievances and Pensions agreeing to receive requests from private citizens seeking punitive measures against IAS officers even without supporting documentation. In 2017, a Central Bureau of Investigation Special Court in Delhi sentenced a former Union Coal Secretary and 2 other IAS officers to 2 years in prison for their involvement in the coal allocation scam. In 2017, it was reported by the Department of Personnel and Training, part of the Ministry of Personnel, Public Grievances and Pensions, that, since 2014, 1 IAS officer was prematurely retired from service, 10 IAS officers had been deemed to have resigned, 5 had their pensions cut, and a further 8 IAS officers suffered a cut in remuneration. In 2018, the Union Minister of State for Personnel, Public Grievances and Pensions, Jitendra Singh, informed the Lok Sabha that disciplinary proceedings were underway against 36 IAS officers. Fake cases. A number of false cases have been registered against IAS officers as a tactic to prevent them from taking action against the reporting individuals. Missing IAS officers. In June 2015, The Telegraph reported that 12 IAS officers had gone missing, and had not reported to either the union or the state government for their allocated cadre. It was believed that they were working in foreign countries for companies such as Microsoft for more lucrative pay. The Asian Age later reported that the services of 3 of the 12 officers were likely to be terminated due to prolonged absence from service. Notable IAS officers. Naresh Chandra, a retired 1956 batch IAS officer of Rajasthan cadre, who served as the Cabinet Secretary of India, Defence Secretary of India, Home Secretary of India, Water Resources Secretary of India and Indian Ambassador to the United States. He was awarded India's second highest civilian honour, the Padma Vibhushan, for civil service, in 2007. Narinder Nath Vohra N. Vohra, a retired 1959 batch IAS officer of Punjab cadre and the 12th Governor of the state of Jammu and Kashmir. Vohra was the first civilian governor of Jammu and Kashmir in 18 years since Jagmohan. Vohra has also served as the Principal Secretary to the Prime Minister of India, Home Secretary of India, Defence Secretary of India and Defence Production Secretary of India. He was awarded India's second highest civilian honour, the Padma Vibhushan, for civil service, in 2007. T. N. Session, a retired 1955 batch IAS officer of Tamil Nadu cadre, notable for enacting significant reforms to electoral oversight in India. He was the 10th Chief Election Commissioner of India 1990–96, who reformed elections by ending electoral malpractice throughout the country and strengthened the image of the Election Commission of India. He previously served as the 18th Cabinet Secretary of India in 1989, and later as a member of the Planning Commission. He was presented the Ramon Magsaysay Award for Government Service in 1996. Vinod Rai, a retired 1972 batch IAS officer of Kerala cadre, who served as the 11th Controller and Auditor General of India. He is widely considered a symbol of the anti-corruption movement in India. He also served as the Financial Services Secretary of India. Rai was awarded India's third highest civilian honour, the Padma Bhushan, for civil service, in 2016. Devori Subbarao, a retired 1972 batch IAS officer of Andhra Pradesh cadre. He served as the 22nd Governor of the Reserve Bank of India (RBI). A former Finance Secretary of India, he also served as a member of the Prime Minister's Economic Advisory Council, and as a senior economist in the World Bank. Subbarao's selection as RBI governor in 2008 was coincidental with the outbreak of the global financial crisis. His leadership is generally credited with safeguarding the Indian economy through the financial crisis. Yogendra Narain, a retired 1965 batch IAS officer of Uttar Pradesh cadre. He is a former Secretary-General of Rajya Sabha, who also served as the Defence Secretary of India, Chief Secretary of Uttar Pradesh as well as Surface Transport Secretary of India. He was awarded the Dean Paul H. Appleby Award, for Distinguished Civil Service, in 2017. See also Special Duty Allowance (SDA). References. Bibliography. Books. Papers. Further reading. External links. Civil list of Indian Administrative Service officers is maintained by Department of Personnel and Training of Government of India. Executive record sheets of IAS officers by Department of Personnel and Training of Government of India.